I burned the ships. When I decided I was going to go into real estate, I shut down everything for 6 months and I was like, I'm doing this. I'm going all in. And I did. And I had my first closing 2 weeks after I got my license. I had to get my license. So I studied my rear off to get that license because I saw that paycheck.
I think the biggest thing is most people they're not scared to fail. They're scared of what people are going to think about them if they fail.
Having an actionable, real, legitimate plan. I'm going to do this thing and I know what I'm going to do. And not that guarantees success, because it absolutely doesn't, but having something on pen to paper, because we've all talked about jumping. Burn the ships is our mantra, not having another way out, but doing it with intentionality, doing it with a purpose, and doing it intelligently.
Hey guys, it's Garrett Townsend here with Burn the Ships podcast. I am joined by my good friend Chad Sabaka. He is amazing. I love you, dude. It is an honor just to have you on this show with me. Chris, man, honestly, this is one of those things where we have a show that you just got three authentic dudes, and I just feel incredibly blessed and incredibly honored to be able to share this show with you guys. And today, what are we talking about today? I think we're going to talk about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so this episode, we wanted to talk a little bit about starting entrepreneurship.
I like it.
When you first decide, or are even just thinking about deciding to move into whatever industry it is, whether you're starting a food truck, a real estate career, a mortgage career, a personal fitness or a personal training career, there's fears that come with that, and trepidation and worries, and we're here to talk about, because all three of us are entrepreneurs in multiple spaces, so talking about how to get past that first big roadblock, which is up here, and committing to it.
It is. And, basically asking yourself that big question, do I have what it takes?
Yep.
I promise you, you do.
You do.
Every single one of us do. You do.
So Chris, tell the world, what entrepreneurs do you have? What businesses have you created over your short time here on planet Earth?
So, currently selling real estate and operating a real estate team in Denver, Colorado, with my good buddy Chad,
Mile High Home Group,
our buddy Dane, who isn't here, and then we also have a vacation rental business, and then we also own and operate a blinds business, window coverings.
Nice. Where do you have vacation rentals at?
So we have 3 vacation rentals in Destin, Florida area.
Nice.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep.
GT.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
No, and that, just so you know, that is my favorite vacation spot. Being that I grew up in South Louisiana when we were growing up, that whole panhandle,
the Redneck Riviera,
the Redneck Riviera, brother. That's where Kunas Riviera for me. But nevertheless, that's where we always went. Was either what was this the place down in southern Alabama, Gulf Shores, either Gulf Shores, Pensacola. I did not know you had places in Destin.
Well, we have officially figured out where our very first Burn the Ships on location podcast is going to be. One of his condos, I can't speak from experience, just pictures, but out the patio doors is the Gulf of Mexico. We are going to have to, I think we're going to have to do a field trip.
Yeah, it's not very hard just to grab a few mic stands and a few cell phones and go do an episode down there. I love it. Yeah. No, I'm totally in.
GT, what different businesses over the course of your life have you created on your own?
I think my journey's a little bit different. I don't know necessarily that I've created businesses, but I can tell you I've never had a salary job in my life.
Okay, well, created paychecks of your own.
Exactly. So like when I look back into college or whatnot, I put myself, didn't finish college. I want to be clear on that. I'm one of those guys. But I put myself and paid for my college through personal training, which, you get paid as you train. And I moved to Colorado back in 1995. Were you guys even born yet?
Yes.
You were? Okay. So back in 1995, I moved to Colorado again, trained at a club here called Greenwood Athletic Club. Again, I've always, and then I got into the mortgage industry back in 99. And for 23 years, I've worked off of just commission. So I guess going back to, I never had a salary paying job. I've always been a commissioned employee. And now I own a construction company now as well. But to me, whether it's you work for a bank and you're commissioned, that's entrepreneurial.
Absolutely.
I mean, as long as somebody's not paying you a salary or whatever, and you basically eat what you kill, right? So that's been my entire life. I've never known what it's like to actually have a salary. So it's either I'm working and making money or I'm not. So
Yeah. You're hunting or you're dying.
yeah, and quite honestly, I would never, me personally, and this isn't a slam on anybody that is a salaried employee. I just don't even know what it would be like to be a salaried employee and have zero desire. I want to hunt. I 100% think that those of us that have that mindset that we're going to eat what we kill, basically we're hunters, are the people that I think just have more opportunity out there. So.
As for me, I only have one. Both of these guys are putting me to shame right now. So right out of college, I needed a job, and I started as an assistant to another realtor, my dad, and I saw what he was doing, and I was like, this could be an amazing thing. I never wanted to have the golden handcuffs. I saw what my father went through during crash. He went through
.com.
Yeah,
Was that the early 90s?
That was the 2000s. The Y2K bubble, the .com bubble.
Yeah, I remember that.
He ended up he was in big construction sales, and not that he didn't work his ass off for it, but he did go through 5, 6, 7, 8 jobs over the course of 3 years. And as much as people believe that there is security in working for the man, for having that golden handcuffs paycheck every 2 weeks, I saw firsthand that there isn't security to it, that they can disappear overnight. So I knew that I wanted to have a career that I ate what I killed, right? I thought about doing car sales or some other things, but not that it wasn't hard. It was hard as hell. But being able to grow my business to a point where I'm thriving now and have a team with Garrett and Chris and working with you in the mortgages, I fully believe that I am more comfortable where I am today than if I was working for a Google or a Lockheed Martin or whatever, because they can lay you off on a Friday afternoon when you thought you had a meeting Monday morning. So I like the idea of my business isn't going anywhere unless I decide it wants to be over.
Yeah. I think that the big thing about that is when you have that salary, no matter how big that cap is going to be, there is going to be a cap. Always, right? I mean, Chris, real estate. I mean, is there a cap?
Nope.
Is there anybody out there,
Nope.
the Real Estate Commission or RE/MAX or anybody saying, oh no, man, you can only make this amount of money?
Absolutely not.
I mean, there's
I work harder, I make more money.
yeah,
I
you
love
build
it.
your team.
Yep.
You build your real estate empire. There's always the pros and cons of everything, right? And but to me, what I look at as the biggest pro to entrepreneurship or owning your own company, or even, I do not own the bank that I do loans for, but that bank is never going to come to me and say, Garrett, we're going to cap you on what you're going to make.
Right.
Because obviously the more loans we close, the more the bank makes, everybody's happy, right? So there's that limitless ceiling of what you can do.
Yeah.
And I think that too many people out there let the fear that you were talking about earlier, I think they let that fear kick in, that it creates limitless belief as well. Limited, not limitless belief. Limited belief.
Let's talk about the fear a little bit, Chris. When you have started these 3 different businesses, obviously there's worry and fear that come into those. Can you talk on those a little bit?
Totally.
And how you overcome those?
To get to where I am right now was definitely a journey. I mean, I got out of college and I got your traditional 9-to-5 salary job, and did not like it. I did not like having that ceiling. I was making pretty decent money, but I very soon figured out that wasn't the life that was meant for me. Like, I wasn't affecting people that much. And so I got into, my favorite class in college was entrepreneurship. And I wrote a business plan on my blinds business. And my professor, I got like 100% in that class. And my professor was like, you need to start that business. And when I got out of college, I was too scared. I was like, I need to get a job that's gonna pay me money. Like, I want to make money.
Right.
And so I got that job and soon figured out that wasn't for me. And I started that blinds business and it was successful. Later found out I wasn't super passionate about blinds. So I transitioned that, and I've always kept that company there, and I outsourced. I hired a salesperson. I hired an installer. So that business is still there. It's still running. And then I got into construction, and I owned a small construction company, just doing bathroom and kitchen remodels mostly, and loved that because I was always around new people, and people have always been my passion. So I met a lot of new people. That transitioned into doing fix and flips, and I did fix and flips full time for like 2 or 3 years. Absolutely loved that. My father-in-law was my realtor when I did fix and flips. And one day, I think it was around Christmas, he was like, Chris, you need to get your real estate license because I'm fine. Like, I think one year I paid him $50,000 in commissions. And he's like, you could be doing this on your own. You don't need me. And when he showed that faith in me that like I could be that piece of the puzzle as well, I went to real estate school, got my license. When I was in school, the teacher at that school was like, hey, start promoting yourself as a realtor. I burned the ships. When I decided I was going to go into real estate, I shut down everything for 6 months, and I was like, I'm doing this. I'm going all in. And I did. And I had my first closing 2 weeks after I got my license. I had to get my license. So I studied my rear off to get that license because I saw that paycheck at the end of that class. And,
was shutting down these other companies when you were starting, because you had profitable companies.
I did. The construction company was great. It was all referral based, and I had jobs lined up. But
you essentially did have those golden handcuffs, and you did have a paycheck quicker than most from real estate.
Yep.
But was there fear that, oh crap, after this one, unless I go find something, there's nothing else to eat?
Totally. Yeah, there was that fear 100%, but I knew it was what I wanted to do. Like I had seen other realtors and I had seen the lifestyle they had, and I knew this is what I wanted.
I respect the no toe dipping, right? There's so many people in this world that are toe dippers, and you just jumped in.
Yep.
I mean, you just went head first in, and that's something you just don't see out there a lot, man. I mean, and I think that's a lot of why in real estate or lending or whatever. I mean, people will jump in when it's good, or they'll toe dip.
Yep.
But they don't truly commit.
Yep. They jump out when it gets a little hard.
Yeah, it gets a little hard. Rates go up or whatever, and they jump out, or they have to jump out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and they're not doing society a service by toe dipping. I mean, if they close 1 or 2 deals a year, they are not qualified to help somebody buy or sell their most expensive asset they own.
No.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah, you got to be all in. Whatever you do, you got to go all in.
GT, when you were transitioning from doing the personal training into mortgages, obviously you have a bank backing you, but what fears did you encounter in leaving a life that you knew for something completely different?
For me, man, younger in life, as I've gotten older, I think that there's been more limited beliefs, more self-doubt, things like that at different times in my life. But when I was younger, there really wasn't a lot of fear. I mean, it was always that mentality that, and it was prior to kids and family and all that. So when it's just you, it's easier to make those leaps and those jumps into something. If it doesn't work out, you can just change gears and do something else, right? So, and for me, a very successful trainer, had a lot of clients. Again, I love people. And I love seeing people grow, so it was easy for me. And I had trained a lady that owned a mortgage company, and back when I was getting in, you didn't even have to be licensed.
Right.
I mean, you could literally just say, "Hey, I'm gonna start doing loans," and if somebody would hire you, just do loans. So she ended up convincing me. And in Greenwood Athletic Club, it was one of those a little bit higher end health club, expensive and whatnot. So the clientele was a little bit more of a luxury clientele, I guess. She convinced me to start doing it kind of on the side, and very quickly latched on to my mentor and one of my best friends to this day, John Palmer. And he started teaching me the business. And and for me, again, it was one of those things where my personal training clients became my mortgage clients. I mean, they were like, sure, man, why wouldn't we give you the business, right? They cared about me. They knew I loved and cared about them. You get a couple of big paychecks from, a couple of loans that you closed that were $800 million loans. And you realize, you start doing the math in your head and realizing how many hours of training it would take me to make what I was making closing those loans. And very quickly it was, I'm not going to toe dip in this. I'm jumping in. For me, early in my career, the fear wasn't there because, if I didn't succeed, I could just go back to training or whatever it was that I knew at that time.
What would you say to somebody who was the same age as Garrett, is coming into this or starting any business, not necessarily loans or real estate, but starting any business, came to you and said, look, man, I really want to do this, but I'm scared. What advice would you give them?
But everybody's scared. There's like the four steps in life, right? And they say that, everything, it's thoughts. Thoughts create emotions. Emotions create actions. And actions create results, right? Mm-hmm. So it all starts here, right? The thought process. And, if somebody came to me and said, Garrett, I want to make this leap or whatever, I'd make sure that their head was right first, right? And know that it's okay to fail. I don't think there's anybody out there that is scared to fail. Like you failed, I failed. I mean, I failed at my first marriage. There's all these different things. I mean, I haven't won everything that I've tried to win in my life, right? I mean, so if you're not winning, you're failing, right? Or you're learning from it. But I think the biggest thing is most people they're not scared to fail. They're scared of what people are going to think about them if they fail. Mm-hmm. The judgment, the ridicule. I can remember when I left Louisiana, I had friends that were like, oh yeah, you'll be back. And when I left there, I knew I wasn't coming back. I was like, man, if it doesn't work out in Denver, I'll keep going west. I'll go to California. I'll go wherever, but I am not. And it's not that I don't like Louisiana. I love it. It's where I'm from. And I love going back. And, this whole thing started in Louisiana, right? For me. But, it's one of those mindsets that, you can't be scared to fail. And you just gotta, you got to, surround yourself with the right people.
Yep.
And I think that's hugely important. And I think you just got to get after it. I think so many people in this world we live in today, they want something, but they're not willing to do whatever it takes to get it. Mm-hmm. And work ethic and effort and grind. When you grow up on a farm and you start working at like 9 years old or younger than that, you realize the grind's the grind, man. I mean, you got to embrace it. And
you embrace the suck.
Yeah, embrace the suck. And if you fail, you fail. You get up and you keep going.
Yeah, there's no losing, just lessons.
Yeah, I just think too many people care too much about, again, it's not the failure that they're scared of. Mm-hmm. It's if I fail, Chad's going to judge me.
Yeah.
Or what is Chris going to think about me if I don't make it?
Yeah.
Or my family or whatever it is. I mean, that's where I think the bigger issues come in.
For me, when I started, I was really young. I started real estate when I was 20. But couple things that really helped me was, number one, having an actionable, real, legitimate plan. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to do this thing, and I know what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to do this. And not that guarantees success, because it absolutely doesn't, but having something pen to paper saying, because we've all talked about jumping. Burn the ships is our mantra. Mm-hmm. Not having another way out, but doing it with intentionality, doing it with a purpose, and doing it intelligently, not only will help you succeed, but when you're laying in bed at night worrying about where the next paycheck is going to come from, having a business plan, and on top of that, having a mentor in your space, those two things together, if you don't have those, then you're jumping in, but you're not jumping into a boat. You're jumping into the ocean alone. Not every entrepreneurial outlet out there has been done before. We're in an age where what we're doing right now is new. It's new-ish. Podcasts are newer, but there's people who have already done it. Whether they're directly our mentors or not, Ed Milet's done it. Joe Rogan's done it. Freaking the Kelseys are doing it right now. So all these other people who have done exactly what we're doing before. So my advice is having a legitimate business plan, and you don't have to go to college to be able to do that. Just Google it and put what you want to be and the steps to get to that spot. And then find somebody else, and it doesn't have to be somebody you know. Find somebody else to follow on social media. Find somebody else to follow, whatever. Read their books, but have somebody who has walked the road that you want to walk and has done it successfully, and then emulate it. You know, with me and my company, I was surrounded by people who were making $1 million a year, and I was 20 years old. I think I cracked like 25 grand my first year, and 80% of that went to the tax man. So I made next to nothing my first year, but I knew what I needed to do. I did it. I did the hard work. I made cold calls. I held open houses. I did floor time. I sent out mailers. I did all that stuff that rookies do, and I could look around my office and see $1 million earners everywhere I looked. You threw a rock down the hallway and you'd hit one.
Yeah.
So having those people around you, and don't be scared to pick their brains and talk to them, because there's fear in that, and having the courage to go up to, you know, if I'm a new LO and Garrett's in my office, well, shoot, this guy's been doing it for 25 years. He's killing it. He's also really good looking. How am I supposed to go talk to him? Wouldn't you respect a young buck coming up to you, hat in hand, saying, yeah, I'm 22 years old. I want to be where you are one day. Let me take you out to lunch and will you just talk with me?
Yeah, I think today, I mean, the thing is I truly believe today, social and all the coaching out there and real estate coaching and lending coaching. I mean, I'm part of it's called growth only coaching, right? We coach, you know, realtors and lenders. And, you know, when you look at all the different avenues out there right now that can help you be successful compared to when I got in this business 23 years ago, it's just easier. It's easier because there's people like you and Chris that if I'm a realtor, I know that instead of just getting my license and hanging it somewhere and, you know, and being on this little island by myself, you know, they've got like, I mean, I've heard, you know, some of these companies have like mentors and this and that. But you always got to, you know, vet your mentors, right? Vet your coaches as well. Like you guys have done extremely well in the business and you walk the walk. And that's the biggest thing to me is, you know, like I was fortunate when I got in the business. I latched on to John. John was extremely successful, you know, and he'd come in because he knew I was motivated. I was young and I was motivated by money back then. I mean, that was kind of the important thing to me. And don't hold it against me. I'm not that shallow anymore. But that was my big motivation, right? And so John would come in every 2 weeks and he'd slap a $40,000 check or a $50,000 check. And I mean, we're getting paid every other week, right? You know, and so did that motivate me? Absolutely. Was I latching on to somebody that was doing it right and doing it the right way? And so I was fortunate to learn from somebody like him. But then again, you know, at some point through my career, I kind of thought I knew more or whatever, and I, you know, kind of did my own thing. But then I met, you know, or was introduced to the core coaching a decade ago, and then I had coaches and mentors in my life. And I mean, I just think that if you look at what we have today to be successful as an entrepreneur with social media and being able to reach massive people and build a brand and all those different things that we have now and all the coaching and mentorship and stuff that we have out there available to us today. Yeah, man, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're watching this and you are a loan officer, I don't care who you're working for, whatever, anybody at any point could come up to me and say, hey, G, give me your blueprint. And man, I'll lay it all out there for them. And to me, it's an honor, right? It's just giving back, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, you find those people, but again, instead of asking them, or, you know, what are you doing? That's the wrong question. You know, those people that are already where you want to be, ask them how they got there.
Yeah.
And have them blueprint out how they got there.
Yeah.
And I don't know very many people out there today that wouldn't help.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're out there, but
that's what I love about what we're doing. I said it in our first episode if y'all didn't catch it, but if we get gold nuggets, we're not hiding them from people. I've had people in our brokerage who have come up to me and said, wow, that video you did was awesome. I hand him my video guy's card and said, he'll do it for you too. Yeah. He's awesome. And we've had 2 or 3 people who have hired our video guy. Shout out Renee. But none of us are the type to hoard our knowledge. You know, if I had a young kid come up to me or frankly, we work in an industry that is predominantly a little more seasoned. I've had countless people I couldn't even tell you how many people making a lot more money than I have over my career. And they ask me questions, and there's a big honor to that.
I think to piggyback on what you said with having a solid business plan, having some mentors. I think the third thing I would ask to that is some accountability, have an accountability partner or group or program. I think that's the biggest thing in this business. Don't try to do it yourself. You need somebody that's going to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
And so every single year I take a Brian Buffini class again. Not because there's new information, not because the only reason is the accountability.
Yeah.
When I go to that class and I don't do my homework to get ready for that class, I feel like a loser.
Right.
So I do that homework. That's my accountability. Every time I take that class, learning the same exact information every single time, I make more money.
And the thing is, like you're saying, I mean, and that's for people that have the money to spend the money to go to a Buffini class, right? Like I went to a Buffini class when I first got into the business years ago. It was actually the first business seminar I'd ever been to in my life.
Oh, okay.
And it was Brian Buffini. And, you know, but where I wanted to go with that is the reality is I don't care what it is you want to do today in becoming an entrepreneur, whatever that business is, I guarantee you there is so much free information out there that, you know, I know like for Growth Only, almost on a weekly basis now, I think Amir or somebody is putting out some sort of a master class that's free. You know, yes, is the goal to, you know, have some of these people go, hey, I want to be part of this community, right? Absolutely. But it's free. There's so much free information out there now when it comes to growing as a realtor, growing as a lender, growing as a contractor. I guarantee you if you put in some Google search or started trying to find, you know, some business entrepreneur that owned a window covering company, you could literally find anything out there today to learn and come up with an action plan of, okay, I want to be a successful realtor. So I'm going to start following, you know, these realtors on social media that put out good content. I'm going to learn from their content. You know, oh, well, maybe I need to start being and putting out more content and building my brand. So now you're just watching what they're doing. You're changing it up. You film it with your cell phone and you throw it on social media. It's just, I just think it's so much easier today to be an entrepreneur. And I think that it really boils down to, and you know, challenge me if you want to on this, somebody having the discipline and the character to not only want to do it, but to do whatever it takes to get it.
Yeah.
Because the information's there.
Totally.
The accountability's there. Like, you know, if somebody has the discipline to say, I want to be an entrepreneur in this field, whatever it is, there's no excuses at all. Not in today's world.
No, I completely agree with you. Even when we got started, there really was free education everywhere. And Elon Musk's talked about this before. You could drive to the local library and become a nuclear physicist if you wanted to. You just sit there and study.
Yeah.
Today, you don't even have to get in your car and drive anywhere. You don't even have to read. All you do is type into YouTube, I want to build a fill-in-the-blank business, personal training, personal finance, woodworking, whatever. Guaranteed you're going to find hours and hours and hours and hours of videos on people who have done it successfully and emulate it. All three of us are big family people, right?
Yeah.
So we've talked about fear within ourselves of failing and fear of what society and our friends and extended family would think. But how do we get over the fear of letting our family down if we fail? I mean, big fail, not, oh, I didn't get this loan or this guy decided to replace his roof with somebody else. But how do you set yourself up to honestly handle the anxiety of having multiple mouths to feed depending on you, Chris?
So when I took the leap into real estate, there was definitely some fear there. I had a 1-year-old at home.
Oof.
My wife and I were still pretty newly married. My father-in-law is the one who paid for half my real estate school. Like, expectations were high. We knew we were a team. And I mean, win or lose, we were doing this together. And I think that's what you need to be, a solid team. And if you got that solid team and your wife or your spouse has your back, you're not going to fail. Like it's going to happen and you're going to make it happen. And so for us, failure wasn't an option. Like we went all in and it was going to happen, and it's been happening for 10 years ever since.
Yeah.
And we'll have up years, we'll have down years, and in our up years now, or in our down years, we have some things in place that that safeguard us a little bit. So we've
Yeah.
got that other business where if real estate's down because of outside factors, and I use those as an excuse, I could have made more money last year. I used the high interest rates as an excuse that I didn't make as much money, but our vacation rentals were amazing. That helped. It's nice to have that safeguard.
I think
Yeah.
the nugget there, though, that I think that somebody could take away from this is what you said. You had buy-in from your wife.
Yeah.
She was on your team. And so, like, anybody that's watching this that, has young kids and a wife at home, to make that decision on your own that, hey, I'm just going to give up this salary paying job and I'm going to jump into this 100% commission thing, or career, whatever it is. I think two things need to happen. I think you need to make sure that you got at least like a 6 or 7 month cushion. Mm-hmm. So if in the first 4 or 5 months it's not happening, mm-hmm. you got to start deciding after that first 4 or 5 months, I've got 2 months left. And what does that look like? But I think the biggest piece is that buy-in, and that buy-in from your wife saying, hey, we're a team, we're in this together. So we are gonna burn the boats. Your example, there was no failure, right? Like, we're burning the boats and are burning the ships, and this is it. Like, we're gonna do this. And I think that's a big piece. And I think, or if you have like a wife that has a great job and a salary or whatnot, and she's like, look, and you budget and you figure it out. But again, it's that buy-in that everybody's on the same team, and you decide to do it together.
Mm-hmm. I think doing it, say I wasn't in real estate and I wanted to be, and I went to my wife and I said, hey, I'm going to go do this. And I just came up with it on the fly. She knows me, right? But why would she be fully committed to it? So if you're out there and you're watching this and you maybe have a spouse who has some trepidations about you doing whatever entrepreneurship you want to do, you need to go to them the right way. Mm-hmm. You need to already have that business plan formulated. You need to have, okay, this is the company I'm going to be working with, or this is the equipment I need to buy to build this podcast studio, or here are the recipes and the costs of the food for the food truck I want to do. Here's the locations it's going to be. You need to respect your spouse's emotions, because there's going to be, you think there's fear for you. If you're the main breadwinner of a family, there's going to be even more fear from them. Yeah. So just coming up with an idea, and I'm guilty of this. I've come up with multiple ideas, but every time I've brought it to my wife, I've literally put together 8-page business plans mm-hmm. with here's the expenses, here's the expected profit, here's the tax consequences, the whole 9 yards of it, and here's how I'm going to implement it, and here's my expectation for year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. So I push it all the way out to 5 years, and then we have an adult conversation about it. If after that point you still don't have it, well, then maybe you need to look at the finances and bring that in too. Show, I cut back my spending on whatever your vice is, not even vice, but whatever your hobby is. Say you're a hunter or you like Teslas, but you decided, you consciously make the decision, okay, I'm not going to go buy that new driver. I'm going to take that money and I'm going to put it in a savings mm-hmm. account. I'm not going to buy that new rifle. Yeah. I'm going to take that money, I'm going to put it in a savings account. And then you go to your spouse and say, look, I have pulled back on my spending. I have decided I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z. Yeah. I have now saved 6 months of savings for us. Yeah. You don't even need to tell them you're doing it. Just continue living life, continue working at the job you're working, put that money in a separate account and say, here's my business plan. I've already saved 6 months of savings. I believe this is what's best for our family. If somebody showed that kind of commitment to me prior to even making the jump, I'm all in. Let's do it. Yeah. Tell me what you need to be successful. I'm here for you.
100%, man. And I think that a lot of it just comes down to that communication. Mm-hmm. Again, that buy-in, and having that plan. You put that plan in place and you just say, and it could be the start of, hey, Bev, I know I've got this job doing whatever it is paying me this salary. I got this buddy, Garrett. He's a lender. He's done pretty well in his life. I reached out to him. We talked about it. There's this pretty big upside. And again, in that time frame, maybe it's just talking to him in the beginning, right? But then he starts to put that plan together. Mm-hmm. We spend money here. This is our personal budget. This is what we need to survive. And this is what we need to have a pretty decent life. This is where we're at with the salary job. This is where we could be at based on conversations I had with Garrett or whatever. And, and maybe she works or whatnot. And so, which is the case for most cases now. I mean, it's a dual income family.
Yep.
And we can get by for X amount of time based on our savings, based on what you're making or whatever, to get me ramped up in this. And these are the things that I'm going to do to generate leads and generate business. And like you said, man, I think that if you go into whatever it is with a pretty detailed plan, and then, the balls to just not toe dip and jump in it when you're ready, when your plan is ready to execute. And, there's nobody better to hold you accountable than your wife when you're telling her that it's, hey baby, we're burning the ships and we're going all in on this, right? I mean, that's the best accountability partner on the planet.
That's a fact.
No, I'm a big believer in what you're saying, man, and the fact that you got to get that family buy-in.
Yeah. And having that buy-in, it feels so good because I mean, all three of us live that life right now, and somebody not only will go to war for you, but has your back. There's no better feeling in the world. So
no.
I love what you just said about your wife holding you accountable. Kendra sent me a reel the other day, and she said it wasn't like part of a wife's job is to be encouraging, but actually God more so intended for that wife to be someone who pushed you. And so this reel said like sometimes your wife's got to get mean and say, "What the hell did you do today? Like, what'd you do to make our lives better?" And she's not doing it to be a jerk. Right. She's doing it because she's your number one accountability partner. Like if you don't have anybody else, she's the one that's going to say, "Get your crap together and you're going to do this."
Yeah.
And that was eye-opening for me because when Kendra's always kind of been like that, and I'm like, man, she's being a jerk today. And she's doing it out of love. And it's cool that she sent me that because I'm like, that makes sense. Yeah.
You might want to edit that out. Just I don't want to see you get in trouble.
Calling the wife a jerk on our second podcast.
Yeah, but
She love you, Kendra.
She would own it for sure.
Right, but I think that the other big thing is too, man, is you're talking about the accountability and the wife and your family holding you accountable. I mean, I think that life certainty that I've ever found in my life is, when people say you are who you surround yourself with. That is, I tell my kids that, my friends that, like, if you are not surrounding yourself with people that will hold you accountable, that will lift you and build you and drive you and push you and expect the better version of you, that will have grace on you. Like they need to have grace at certain times, but at also times they need to be the kind of friends that won't let you make excuses, because human nature is human nature, right? I mean, we can all make excuses about something. And, I've been very fortunate in my life that I've surrounded myself with people like my other two hosts here, that we drive each other and we build each other and we lift each other, but we also are not going to put up with each other's bullshit. And I know that if either one of you guys started making excuses, I'd call you out on it, just like I know you call me out on it. And I think that people need to identify that piece, because I think there's a lot of people out there that will try something new or whatnot, and they have a lot of friends that are just, fans.
Yeah.
They'll yes man them or whatever it is, but they won't call them on it when they're making excuses or when they're not seeing the results they want. And it's usually because of a lack of effort.
Yeah, checking your circle is a huge piece. I mean, we will probably do an entire podcast just on that topic.
Yeah, without a doubt.
You are the sum of the 5 closest people to you.
100%.
And
that could be a podcast in its own.
Literally, right there. Especially for younger kids. When you're 24, 26, it can be really, really hard. Even now into my mid to late 30s, being able to decide that, hey, I love you. And when you start an entrepreneur life,
venture,
you're going to have enough things holding you back. You have to wear all the hats. You have to find the business. You have to be the accountant, the financier. You have to be the tax guy, the marketer, everything.
Yeah.
When your circle isn't also supporting you, worrying about friends who are weights to you instead of lifting you up, you can't do it.
And you don't necessarily just have to cut them out of your life.
Yeah.
But you just again, you just need to
take a step back.
You need to put more effort into those relationships that are going to drive you to be better.
Last one, I want to hit on this, and this could probably be its own podcast too. How do you now, the entrepreneur fear never truly goes away. That's something that nobody really tells you is I'm 15 years into this, and I have some of it today, right now. So I got some worry right now. This is the first time I haven't had a property under contract in 7 or 8 years. So I'm feeling it a little bit right now. And I know last couple of years were slower for you guys. Mm-hmm. So being this far into the business, into whichever that is, how do you continue to turn that fear into action?
For me, it's my why. It
Refocus on the why.
Comes back to focusing on my why and why I'm doing this. Kendra always gives me crap for this because I'm always like so even keel. She's like, "Don't you get excited or don't you feel pain?"
You're the Bill Belichick of real estate. You're just always score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, still even keel. Lose the Super Bowl, even keel.
Cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
It drives her nuts. She's like, "Get excited about something," or "Aren't you scared about something?" And at the end of the day, like I always know God's got my back.
There you go.
So when last year when I went like 4 months without a single house under contract. And there were a couple days I was worried about it, but I never like super stressed about it. We had some savings.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we're not living way above our means. And I knew those deals were going to come. And I had a fantastic fourth quarter. And I just kind of I worked a little bit harder when I didn't have those deals under contract. I knew sitting around doing nothing wasn't going to get me anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I did work a little bit harder, and I had faith that God would provide, and he did. Quarter was awesome, and first quarter of this year is going to be fantastic because during those 4 months, I was working, and I was building up what's coming to fruition now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just coming to grips with fear and and knowing what it is. I mean, you mentioned God and whatnot. I mean, I know that when fear creeps up in my head, I know that's Satan. Mm-hmm. Let's just face it. I know God isn't putting fear in my brain. He's not putting those thoughts in my brain, right? And I know that when you have those insecurities and you have those fears that are going in, it's identifying what it really is, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, I tend to think a couple of things. One is it's temporary, right? Everything is temporary. Everything in this life that we're in is temporary, and you just got to outlast the temporary. I also believe that if you stay consistent to the things that have worked in the past, and you stay consistent to it, again, it will be temporary and it will turn around and it will come back. And then it's like trying to find the positive in every negative, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like I look at our market right now for all of us, I mean, because we're all in the real estate industry, different places, but real estate industry. Let's face it, there's a third of the lenders left in this business right now. So,
That's wild.
All I could think of, and I would say it's probably close to the same thing for realtors in the business, right?
I think it's like 40% have left.
40% left?
Yeah, so there's about 60% that there was in 2021.
Yeah, I would say for the lenders, it's probably more than that.
I've heard it's more than that.
Yeah, and so I look at it and go, stick to the plan, stick to what's worked. Maybe you have to pivot a little bit, but stick to the basics, stick to the things that work, and then look at the positive in it. A, it's temporary, it's going to come back. And B, look at the positive in it as market share. Like I look at it right now and I'm like, I am in market share gathering mode. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that 60% of the lenders aren't there anymore. So now it's just the best of us left, pretty much.
Sir.
That's a lot more business for each of us. So I think that getting past that fear and using it to grow or use it to excel in whatever it is you're doing, fear is fear. It's going to be there.
Yeah.
But it's all temporary.
So just embrace it.
Yeah, embrace it and just know that God's not putting that in your head.
There you go. All right, well, that's the end of episode 2. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We love you.
Yeah, peace out.
Cheers.